Today's episode of Thinking in English is sponsored by Algospeak. What is the best way to improve your English pronunciation? I get asked this question almost every day. And the truth is, improving your pronunciation is not an easy task. It takes practice and it takes dedication. If you search online, you'll see many people encouraging you to travel to an English-speaking country and you'll quickly pick up the accent. But I know this is not possible for the majority of you listening. And that is why I have partnered with Algospeak. Algospeak is a groundbreaking and unique artificial intelligence-powered application. What does Algospeak do? Well, it helps you to improve your English pronunciation. With over 1,600 different lessons and 40 different topics, there's hours and hours of content to help you improve your pronunciation. Through their AI technology, you can practice speaking and Elsa will find your mistakes, tell you how to improve, and score you based on your fluency, intonation, and pronunciation. When you say something correctly, Elsa will play a positive sound. And when you need to work on a pronunciation, you'll hear a helpful chime. If you guys want to check out Elsa for yourselves, go down to the podcast description, click on the links, and you will be able to download Elsa for free and get a 7 days pro membership for free. You can go to algospeak.com/promo code and use my code THINK85, that's THINK 85, and you can get up to 85% off the lifetime membership. 85% off lifetime membership with the code THINK85. Hello, I'm Tom Wilkinson and welcome to the Thinking in English podcast, a podcast for intermediate to advanced level English learners. TikTok is changing the way we speak and use English. It is contributing to the invention of new vocabulary. New ways of communicating and censoring words are seen across the platform. And a new accent or way of speaking is developing. Today, I want to take a deep look into TikTok and its influence on the English language. I think this episode will be useful for many of you listening. The transcript for this episode is available for free over on the Thinking in English blog. The link is in the description. Here is today's vocabulary list. Slang. Slang. Informal language used by a particular group, often characterized by unconventional words or phrases. For example, the teenagers at the skate park used slang that I couldn't understand. Popularisation. Popularisation. The process of making something widely known or accepted, as in, the popularisation of social media platforms has transformed the way people communicate. Viral. Viral. Quickly and widely spread, especially through social media or the internet. For example, the video of the cute kitten went viral within hours of being posted online. Trend. Trend. A general direction in which something is developing or changing. For instance, fashion trends often change rapidly. Nuances. Nuances. Subtle differences or shades of meaning. As in, understanding the nuances of a language can be challenging for language learners. Sensitive. Sensitive. Requiring careful handling or treatment, or easily affected. For example, John is quite sensitive to criticism, so it's important to provide feedback in a constructive and supportive manner. Moderation. Moderation. The act of keeping within reasonable limits or avoiding extremes. For example, the key to a healthy lifestyle is moderation in all things. Over the past 5 years, TikTok has become one of the biggest, most popular, and most influential social media platforms in the world. Its success has captivated millions of people who spend hours scrolling through short videos. It has allowed a whole new generation of content creators to make money online, and it has pushed their rivals to copy TikTok's format, Instagram Reels and YouTube Shorts, for example. When I first heard of TikTok, it seemed like a platform for young teenagers doing silly dances. And while this is still a feature of the app, there is so much more on there now. There are journalists reporting major breaking news stories on TikTok, comedians and artists becoming famous and successful based on viral TikTok clips, and even English teachers providing free language resources to millions of people. However, TikTok is controversial. Right now, the United States Congress is in the process of potentially banning TikTok in the country. Other countries have considered similar policies, including India, where TikTok was banned years ago. TikTok is now a fundamental part of millions of people's lives in the USA and other countries around the world. There are around 170 million users of the application in the USA. It has influenced modern culture, and it is challenging some of the biggest companies in the world. So, why might it be banned? Well, in simple terms, due to concerns about its connection to the Chinese government. TikTok is owned by ByteDance, a Chinese company, and there are fears that data from the app could be taken by the Chinese government, or the app could be manipulated in favor of China. Now, there is not really any evidence that this is happening right now. Instead, the concerns are mainly about the future. If you want to know more about this topic, I actually recorded an entire episode 215, titled "Should TikTok Be Banned?" I'd recommend listening to it if you're interested. Today, however, I want to look at one of the subtler, less obvious influences that has come from TikTok. TikTok is changing the English language. How? Well, it turns out TikTok is having an influence across different parts of the English language. It is popularizing new vocabulary. A new form of language known as Algospeak has developed. And the way people speak on TikTok is becoming a unique accent. Today, I'd like to take a look at this topic in more detail. We'll start by discussing the way TikTok is changing the English language, and we'll end with a discussion of how or if you can use TikTok to learn English. Importantly, I should say this isn't criticism. This episode isn't criticism. I'm not one of those people who care deeply about preserving language or resist any change to English at all. In fact, I'm probably the opposite. I love new developments in language, and TikTok is at the forefront of new developments. So let's take a look at how TikTok is changing the English language and the way we use it. Vocabulary. I think one of the biggest influences from TikTok is the invention and popularization of new words and phrases. This new vocabulary has crossed into other parts of society, into mainstream media, and the general language of millions of young people. I think we can divide new vocabulary into two broad categories: slang that organically spreads, and purposefully invented terms. Slang is defined as a type of language consisting of words and phrases that are regarded as very informal, are more common in speech than writing, and are typically restricted to a particular context or group of people. That definition came from the Oxford Dictionary, by the way. Slang has always existed, evolved, and changed. There is unique slang in regional locations, within groups of people, and within certain communities. Social media, however, has made it much easier for slang to spread across societies and the world. I've spoken with people from places like Norway who use London slang because they grew up watching British YouTubers. Something really interesting in the UK right now is that TikTok and YouTube have popularized the use of Arabic words as a form of slang. You'll find young people, especially teenage boys, saying words like wallahi, which is like swearing an oath in Islamic courts, but is used in London slang when you want to say something is true. Or haram, which means impermissible or forbidden in Arabic. These terms were brought to the UK by Muslim immigrants from places like Pakistan and Somalia, and then popular content creators from these ethnic backgrounds spread the slang around the country. There are many, many more examples of slang that has been popularized on TikTok. I just don't have enough time to go through every single term today. More interesting to me, however, are words that have been purposefully invented. This is not a new thing. New words and trends have typically been created by film writers, authors, magazine editors, or other such figures. I've recorded an episode before about how Shakespeare invented a lot of words and phrases. More recent examples include phrases like bucket list, meaning things that you want to do before you die, which comes from the title of a movie, or catfish, which as a verb means to trick or con someone with a fake online profile, which comes from a 2010 documentary called Catfish, and then was popularized by the MTV show called Catfish. TikTok, and more specifically TikTokers, the people who make TikTok content, seem to be trying to invent words and create new viral terms at a record pace. Every day, there are hundreds of people making videos which include unique and often new words. Why? Well, in essence, it means that people are purposefully trying to invent new terms and phrases to go viral and create a new trend. They want the importance, the knowledge, and sometimes the money that comes with popularizing a new phrase. I found an article about this topic written by Rebecca Jennings, which I'll link in the transcript, who listed words and phrases like micro-cheating, girl hobby, loud budgeting, polywork, and almond mum as examples of this phenomenon. I don't use TikTok at all, and I have no idea really what any of those words meant. But if you spend time on English language TikTok, you might know about these topics. Often these terms appear and disappear relatively quickly. A few years ago, the word of the year from Oxford Dictionary was goblin mode, a TikTok term. I don't think this is used anymore on the application, but it might be. So many of the current words being invented on TikTok might not stick around. However, there is a chance that a few may leave a lasting impression on the English language. And the final way TikTok is changing vocabulary is through self-censorship and Algospeak. Self-censorship refers to the practice of consciously limiting or altering your language to avoid potential repercussions, such as censorship or backlash. On social media platforms with strict content moderation policies, like TikTok, users often resort to self-censorship to ensure their posts meet the community guidelines and avoid being removed. There are obvious words which people try to not use in some cases. English curse words, for example. I avoid using bad language in my podcast, actually. If I was to use bad language, I would need to click the explicit button when I upload the show, which might limit the people who can listen to Thinking in English. My show won't be recommended to all age groups. TV shows and movies do the same thing. It's why some movies are only able to be watched by people over the age of 18. On TikTok, this has been taken to the next level. TikTok has very tight content policies. There are certain topics that limit the number of people who can see your video. TikTok's moderation system aims to catch violent, hateful, sexually explicit content or misinformation. However, it often struggles with nuances. It can't tell the difference between a word being used in a hateful or unethical way or a word being explained by a journalist, for example. This has developed into a new way of using language: Algospeak. Algospeak is a term derived from algorithm and speech. It refers to the use of code words, euphemisms, or altered language to hide from these content moderation algorithms. TikTok users employ Algospeak to discuss sensitive or taboo topics without triggering automated filters. In other words, they use code words to avoid any automatic filters on TikTok, which means their video will be unaffected by moderation policies. They can keep talking about certain topics and keep their visibility online. The result, however, is a new, weird vocabulary and a way of spelling certain words. An example of Algospeak is using the word unalive instead of dead, or the abbreviation SA instead of sexual assault. By using euphemisms, TikTokers can still address sensitive subjects. During the pandemic, it became common for people to use words like panoramic instead of pandemic, as it could affect your video. I was always careful titling my episodes on Spotify, because sometimes I would have a notification about COVID appear on my page. Using these substitute words sounds slightly strange, and now normal people are beginning to adopt this way of using English online and in real life. Other times, rather than completely replacing a word, they will modify the pronunciation and spelling of an existing word. An example is people saying segs, S-E-G-G-S, instead of sex. Certain communities online tend to use Algospeak more than others. Typically, it tends to be people who make content on slightly more sensitive topics. If you head over to the transcript, I've linked a few articles which provide a lot more examples of Algospeak if you're interested in this topic. Accent and pronunciation. I've shown you how TikTok is contributing to the spread of slang, the invention of new words and phrases, and the development of Algospeak and self-censorship. But its influence is not just being felt on vocabulary. It is also influencing changes in pronunciation and accent. I read a great article from the BBC which discusses this in detail. It's linked over on thinkinginenglish.blog. But I'll try to summarize and explain the main points. Essentially, the way that people speak on TikTok is different to how people speak in real life. This is especially noticeable in young people and even more so in young women. There are two main changes in pronunciation and accent: vocal fry and uptalk. Vocal fry, sometimes known as glottalization or creaky voice, is a speech phenomenon characterized by a low-pitch, creaky sound. It occurs when the vocal folds, the things that help make sounds, are tensed and elongated, resulting in irregular vibrations that produce a popping or rattling sound. Usually, you'll notice vocal fry at the end of phrases or sentences, and it is often associated with a lack of clarity or energy. It has gained attention in recent years due to its prevalence among speakers, particularly young women, in informal speech context and popular media. Uptalk, sometimes known as high-rising terminal or upspeak, is a speech pattern characterized by the upward inflection or intonation of pitch at the end of sentences and phrases. Usually we use upwards inflection to ask questions. You like cats? Compared to a flat inflection for statements. You like cats. On TikTok, however, you'll notice more and more people using uptalk in general statement sentences. This upward pitch can create a sense of uncertainty and hesitation. While uptalk has been stereotypically associated with a lack of confidence or assertiveness, linguistic research suggests that it serves various functions, such as signaling politeness, seeking confirmation, or maintaining engagement in conversation. This final point, maintain engagement in conversation, is the key to why people are changing their accents on TikTok. Vocal fry and uptalk are used to maintain a connection and engagement with viewers. They can be more persuasive, more personal, and feel more conversational when using these styles of talking. If TikTok continues to dominate the media landscape, especially among young women, you may notice more and more people adopting the TikTok voice or a TikTok accent. So TikTok is at the forefront of modern language development. There will be people out there who criticize this. People who believe there is such thing as proper English. In fact, some of you have messaged me before complaining that I don't speak in traditional received pronunciation all the time, which is true and also ironic as almost no one uses traditional received pronunciation anymore. But I believe language changes. I might not be fully influenced by TikTok's new way of using English, but I will certainly feel some of its effects. If you want to keep up to date with the latest developments in English, TikTok is one of, if not the best place. In fact, TikTok is now a popular choice for language learners to find free learning resources and lessons. As TikTok becomes more popular, language educators and teachers realized there was an opportunity to teach languages on social media. Through short, interactive videos and micro-learning techniques, educators are creating content to help learners improve their language skills in a fun and engaging way. Micro-learning involves breaking down lessons into short, digestible chunks that are easy for users to engage with during their daily scroll through social media feeds. Now, I do have doubts about the quality of a lot of TikTok content and TikTok teachers. I've seen some terrible content on TikTok, Instagram Reels, and YouTube Shorts. But there are interesting things out there, and useful things as well. While social media alone may not turn you into a fluent speaker overnight, consistent exposure to language learning content can complement traditional learning methods and contribute to overall language proficiency. So, if you want to stay up to date with the latest trends in language learning and expose yourself to English language media, TikTok might be a good option, if it has not been banned in your country yet. So here is today's final thought. TikTok influences the English language in various ways, from popularizing new vocabulary and slang to shaping pronunciation and accent. Through trends like TikToklish and Algospeak, the platform reflects a dynamic development in communication. It is home to new words, new trends, self-censorship, and new accents. Moreover, it has emerged as a valuable resource for language learners, offering innovative ways to engage with language content. Despite controversies surrounding its future, TikTok's impact on language is undeniable. But what do you think? Has TikTok had an effect on your country's language? Do you use social media to practice English? Let us know by leaving a comment. Comment on Spotify, comment on the Thinking in English transcript, the link is in the description, or reach out to me on Patreon or Discord. Those are the two best places to speak with me and give me your ideas about the episodes. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Thinking in English. Thank you to Elsa Speak, for sponsoring today's episode. If you're interested in improving your pronunciation, click the link in the description, use my code, THINK85, and go try Elsa. Thank you all, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.